A poor man like you is out of place.
I've been a salesman at Johnson Motors for many years. My boss at the North Philadelphia branch, Mr. Norton, is a top dealer, but he's troubled by his badly behaved son and has been insisting I find him a job. When I refuse, Mr. Norton starts harassing me immediately. One day at a get-together with a client, my seat somehow ended up soaked with water. Mr. Norton and his son were laughing while watching. After enduring such terrible harassment from the Norton family, my patience finally snapped. Then $100 million contract is off.
What nonsense is this from a lowlife? Ridiculous.
Mr. Norton and his team laughed through their noses, but they were shocked when they discovered my true identity. My name is Max Osborne. I'm 51 years old. I work at Johnson Motors. Johnson Motors is a newcomer in the domestic auto industry. However, it still has plenty of room for growth and is actively pursuing new initiatives as a growing company. I've been working hard as a sales employee at this company up to this age. Recently, our company announced a new compact car, the Eld. Eld means Earth in German. The reviews were good and sales were strong, so we employees were even more motivated in our work.
Hey Max, good afternoon.
When I visited, Mr. Norton of the North Philadelphia branch stood up from his seat with a smile. This store, being directly operated by Johnson Motors, not only leads in sales in Pennsylvania, but also achieves the highest sales nationwide as a top dealer store. Thank you for your continued support. By the way, how are the Eld sales going?
They're doing great. Nowadays, it's said that young people don't buy cars, but the Eld really appeals to that generation.
I nodded. One of the selling points of the Eld is its wide range of body colors. Recently, many Americans, not just young people, enjoy what's known as fandom activities. Simply put, it's like fan activities. In this context, color plays an important role. Fandom, meaning the thing or person you support, has a designated color, and by wearing that color at fan gatherings, people can immediately tell who you support, making it easy to express your fandom. Moreover, even those who feel hesitant about attaching big mascots or flashy badges to their bags can simply incorporate their fandom color somewhere, which is widely accepted for its low barrier. Thus, the Eld was branded as fandom-friendly, offering a wide range of color options. The names of the colors were carefully chosen to give a sense of exclusivity that other companies don't offer, gaining high praise from people who want to reflect their fandom color on their cars. Of course, we also paid meticulous attention to the interior. You can pursue an interior fully covered in your fandom color. We also designed spaces to display stuffed animals and mascots, with special UV-cut glass to prevent them from fading. And for those who drive to fan meetings and such, we made sure that despite being a compact car, it can hold a large amount of luggage. This feature hit the mark, and the Eld continues its strong sales.
By the way,
After the work talk wrapped up, Mr. Norton looked at me with a sly expression. My face clouded over. Not this again. If it's about that, it's impossible. I tried to set boundaries, but he didn't care at all.
oh, don't be so modest.
Mr. Norton's biggest worry was his son. His son, Alex Norton, is 24 years old. He had to repeat 2 years at a little-known private university and finally graduated this year. I met him once. He was a timid young man, hiding behind his father, barely able to say hello. However, As the saying goes, the more troublesome the child, the more a parent dotes on them. Mr. Norton was no exception and kept persistently asking me to help get his son a job.
I really want your help to get Alex into Johnson Motors.
I gave a wry smile. I'm just a salesman. I don't have that kind of power.
Oh no, Max. You're a well-known figure in this industry, and people say you have a lot of connections.
Who says that? I laughed. I've just been here a long time. If I had that much influence, I'd be the sales manager by now. I expected him to laugh along with me here. I thought I was discouraging him with my response. But suddenly, Mr. Norton's face turned cold, and he sighed deeply.
What's the deal? I've asked you enough times. Get a grip. You're completely useless.
Shocked, I was about to ask, "What did you just say?" But before I could, Mr. Norton, now looking irritable, pushed my shoulder.
That's enough. We're done here. Get out.
As I stood there, stunned, he said in a displeased tone,
Hey, give me back the courtesy I showed you. There's no benefit in being nice to you. Give me a 10% discount on the next deal.
he was making unreasonable demands. When I immediately replied, "I can't do that." He spat out, looking down on me. "I see. Of course, someone like you doesn't have that kind of authority." Mr. Norton had a complete change of attitude the moment I told him I couldn't help with his son's job search. I thought his treatment of me was harsh, but he took it to a whole new level. I've been married for 22 years to my wife, Sally, and we have a 17-year-old daughter, Anna. When Anna started elementary school, Sally decided to fulfill her long-held dream of opening a cafe. It was a dream she had since childhood. She had been saving up for it, which surprised me. The cafe, opened 10 years ago, is a stylish and pleasant place, even from my amateur perspective. Customers keep coming, and it's loved by regulars. It's called Tiari. Tiari is a delicate flower with small white and light pink blooms that give off a sweet fragrance. It's hardy, easy to grow, and originally from South Polynesia. Sally, who loves flowers, planted many tiari flowers in the garden and took good care of them, making them bloom beautifully.
The flower's meaning is purity and happiness. I'm sure it'll bring happiness to the cafe.
Sally explained the origin of the cafe's name with a smile. Sally, happily managing the cafe every day, seemed truly content. But one day, something unusual happened. When I got home, Sally was already back, which was rare. She was usually still at the cafe at this time. Casually, I asked, "Is today a day off?" Sally looked at me with a troubled expression.
Well, there's been a bit of trouble.
As I listened to the details, I found out there was a troublesome customer today. This was very rare. At a small cafe like Tiari, which mostly has regulars, we hardly ever get difficult customers. What did they say? When Sally started to explain, I was shocked. During lunchtime, the cafe is very busy because of the lunch menu, especially at Tiari. Many people from nearby offices and factories come for lunch, so it gets crowded. Taking advantage of the rush, the man showed up. He ordered a lunch set with spaghetti and then started smoking. The Tiari is a non-smoking establishment. The server, a part-time girl, told him smoking was not allowed. and the man clicked his tongue and pressed his lit cigarette into the table. The smell of the burning tablecloth spread. The girl ran to the kitchen to get Sally. Meanwhile, the man started harassing a female customer nearby.
Hey, why don't you go somewhere better with me instead of eating at a place like this?
The regular customers were distressed and asked Sally for help when she arrived.
Sir, this is a non-smoking area. Also, please stop bothering other customers. Your food will be served shortly.
It seemed like the man had calmed down, but when the server brought the spaghetti, he caused a scene.
There's white hair in my spaghetti.
The man shouted loudly. The surrounding people started to stir. Looking closer, indeed, a bunch of white hair was in the dish. The man, feeling emboldened, picked up the plate and stood up.
Everyone, look. This is gross.
He walked around the tables, showing the hair to the customers. The server, flustered, tried to stop him, but it was too late. The customers lost their appetites and left with disgusted faces. Of all things, white hair. I was speechless. The truth is, Sally has beautiful silver hair now. She started getting gray hair early, and by 45, it became quite noticeable. So she decided to embrace the silver look. It looked classy, and we both liked it. But it undeniably created an association with her. Sally confronted the man.
Why are you causing such trouble for my business?
Huh? Shouldn't you be apologizing first? If you don't want this all over the internet, you better pay compensation. Otherwise, this little cafe will go under fast. I'm talking about $30,000.
Sally stood firm and replied, "You've been nothing but disruptive. There's no proof that the hair in the spaghetti is real." The man looked irritated.
If the husband is trash, the wife's no better. I'll be back.
He left with those parting words. In front of the cafe, there are planters with tiare flowers, symbols of happiness. But after he left, the flowers were torn and scattered on the ground. This deeply hurt Sally. I was speechless. I asked Sally for more details about the man who caused the trouble.
He's a young guy in his 20s. He had a cynical attitude.
The first person that came to mind who would speak badly of me was, of course, Mr. Norton's son. He must have been holding a grudge because he expected to get a job at Johnson Motors, and I turned him down flatly. To think he would harass my family because of that. But still, Tiare is located in Newark, New Jersey. It's nearly an hour away from where they live in Philadelphia. Yet he found the place and came all the way here. The thought of his persistence sent chills down my spine. I decided to take the plunge and discuss the current situation with my boss. However, I couldn't be sure yet that the harassment at Sally's Cafe was the work of Mr. Norton's son, Alex. So, I asked my boss if I could be reassigned from handling the North Philadelphia branch. But before I could finish explaining, he flatly refused. The reason was that we were short-staffed. Besides, I had been in this job for a long time. He had the odd notion that only a veteran like me could handle top dealers. This boss had just come to the headquarters and didn't know much yet. Though it was inevitable, I found myself holding my head in frustration. If Sally is currently being targeted by Mr. Norton's harassment, then there's a chance their malicious actions could eventually extend to my daughter, Anna. I had been so preoccupied with worry that I almost missed the date on the calendar. Next week, there was a planned social gathering with our clients. Of course, the North Philadelphia branch, where Mr. Norton works, was also scheduled to attend. At this point, All I could do was hope Mr. Norton would be absent that day. Since they're a top dealer, I didn't want to upset them. I was frustrated by my inability to take a more assertive approach. While working, I kept thinking about it, feeling my stomach ache. After work, I headed straight to Sally's cafe. Fortunately, the troublesome young man hadn't shown up again.
But today, my dad came by the cafe. He told me something amazing.
Oh, what did he say? That night, we were all excited about the news from Sally's father. And then the day of the gathering arrived. We had reservations at a nice seafood restaurant starting at 6 p.m. After work, I headed to the restaurant and saw a taxi pull up just as I arrived. Oh no. I held my breath. Stepping out of the taxi was Mr. Norton. Laughing and walking in with him was his son, Alex. I felt a sense of dread seeing not only Mr. Norton, but also his son coming along. But it was too late to turn back now. I braced myself and entered the restaurant. Good evening. We have a reservation for the Johnson Motors social gathering. I was immediately shown to a private room. The sound of lively conversation was already echoing in the hallway. It's only just 6 p.m. and it's already this lively, I thought. From Johnson Motors, there was me from sales, as well as people from the quality control and product planning departments. The clients included the North Philadelphia branch, as well as the South Philadelphia, Camden, and Wilmington branches. I wondered if everyone had already arrived. Good evening. I'm Max Osborne from Johnson Motors. As I greeted them, the lively conversation suddenly stopped. In the center of the group, I saw Mr. Norton and his son, Alex.
Here comes the man of the hour.
Let's make sure he has a good time tonight.
They looked at me with smug smiles, while the others avoided eye contact. I had a bad feeling about this. Just then, my phone rang. It was a call from the office. What? Really? I was informed that members from the quality control and product planning departments might not be able to attend due to work commitments. I explained the situation and apologized to everyone present. Mr. Norton, respected as a top dealer, spoke up.
If that's the case, let's go ahead and start the meeting.
Most of the members had already gathered. Everyone began taking their seats with name tags. I looked for my seat to sit down. To my surprise, my name tag was placed between Mr. Norton and Alex. What? Here? I thought. Mr. Norton motioned for me to sit down.
Come on, sit down.
Alex was silent, but I could hear his suppressed laughter. Puzzled, I looked at the chair and was horrified. To my surprise, the entire chair was soaked. It was dripping onto the floor as if it had just been submerged in water.
Hey, Alex, you laughed and gave it away before he could sit.
Mr. Norton looked genuinely disappointed. I was startled and looked at his face. Then he snorted.
A poor man like you is out of place.
This made me so angry that I blurted out, "Then $1 million contract is off."
Huh? What's this old guy saying? Hilarious.
Alex started laughing out loud in front of everyone, and Mr. Norton dismissed my words as ridiculous. What's so ridiculous? I decided I could no longer tolerate these two.
You said it yourself. You're a bottom-tier poor employee. You couldn't possibly cancel $1 million contract for the L.
Mr. Norton laughed through his nose and raised his beer glass.
Let's have a toast.
But the other participants noticed the soaked seat and were visibly put off by Mr. Norton and his son. They exchanged uneasy glances, hesitating to clink their glasses. Seeing this, Mr. Norton looked perplexed.
What's the matter? One old sales employee being a bit wet shouldn't bother anyone.
He tried to maintain his mocking attitude towards me. I don't demean myself that much, I said sharply, and he responded with a bored expression.
Whatever. You're useless, and it's unpleasant to even look at you. Don't ever show your face in front of a top dealer like me again.
People were shocked to hear such words at a social gathering, and the room grew more uneasy. Mr. Norton, looking smug, muttered something cryptic with a sly smile.
Well, I guess there's no need to say anything more.
He said it in a way that made everyone curious. Mr. Norton looked completely in control, but I decided to change the situation. I know everything. You're planning to betray Johnson Motors and switch to Miller Motors, aren't you? Mr. Norton spat out his beer and glared at me, panicked. The people around us murmured in surprise. They whispered, could he really be moving to a sub-dealer now? It was no wonder everyone was shocked. Moving from an official dealer to a sub-dealer meant handling cars from multiple companies. But Mr. Norton was the top sales manager at Johnson Motors, leading the nation in sales. Normally, there's no way the North Philadelphia branch would let him go. I raised my voice, addressing the participants. What's surprising is that he plans to take his current clients with him to Miller Motors as an official dealer. Everyone gasped in unison. That would be a major violation of industry norms.
Nonsense. What are you talking about? Do you have any proof? This is insulting.
Mr. Norton tried to play dumb. He was clearly flustered and suspicious.
I'm a top dealer, so I have many enemies. There are always people trying to bring me down. But for someone from Johnson Motors to say this.
I sighed and shrugged. Mr. Norton, we know everything. The decision to cancel $1 million contract wasn't mine. It was made by the higher ubiss. The North Philadelphia branch is closing down because of you. You took money from Miller Motors when you provided customer information, didn't you?
What?
It's a scandal if a sales manager like you is caught colluding with a competitor, trying to become their official dealer. We already have the information. With that, I pulled out a stack of photos from the envelope. They showed him meeting with a Miller Motors salesman and receiving money. There were even photos of his son, Alex, present. I began distributing the photos for the attendees to see.
Alex, stop him.
Alex rushed forward, trying to snatch the evidence photos from my hands. They scattered, but the person next to me quickly grabbed them. Nice catch. The photos made their way around, and people began to pass them along. Everyone frowned as they saw the evidence.
This wasn't supposed to happen, but fine. Let's leave this useless company and all join Miller Motors.
He tried to recruit others on the spot, but was only met with cold stares. Sweat dripped down Mr. Norton's forehead as he panicked. It's pointless. I told you it's over for you. At this point, Alex shouted.
You're so dumb. Johnson Motors is over. It's Miller Motors' time now.
Mr. Norton, being older, was more stubborn. I decided to target the younger Alex first. I needed to show him how much information I had. You really wanted to get into the auto industry, didn't you?
So what? What's it to you?
And in your job hunt with Miller Motors, you passed the written exam and made it to the first interview, right? Alex's face showed surprise.
How do you know that?
You begged the Miller Motors salesman for a face pass privilege, didn't you? Seeing the unfavorable turn, Mr. Norton jumped into the conversation.
Hey Max, did you use a detective agency? Snooping around on us.
I smiled and showed them my phone screen. No, it's all from Alex's social media posts.
What?
Mr. Norton looked dumbfounded. Alex frantically shouted, "Wait! No way!"
I posted that on a private account. It wasn't public.
Yes, it seemed so. But your posts were so outrageous that people took screenshots and spread them. If you're going to post things that offend people, you should have kept it completely private. Suddenly, Mr. Norton grabbed Alex.
What did you post? Even I know that one wrong move on social media can ruin your life.
Alex turned pale and whimpered.
But I didn't think anyone would see my posts.
Mr. Norton snatched my phone roughly. On the screen were Alex's posts.
I managed to get an interview with M Motors. Glad I asked for a pass on the written test. I'm getting in through connections. I used to aim for J Motors, but their employees are useless. I went to the wife's cafe because I was pissed at the useless J Motors employee. Put some wig hair in the food, and they totally believed it. I even told them to pay $30,000 if they didn't want me to post about the hair online. Might even reveal the cafe's name.
So Alex was behind the harassment. These posts would serve as solid evidence. Mr. Norton turned red with anger.
Alex, what were you thinking? Of course, you'd get criticized for this. And it's already going viral.
Mr. Norton almost screamed. Unfortunately, a notorious exposed user had noticed Alex's posts. They quickly tweeted, "I'm on it." And social media was buzzing. Most people would be terrified, but not Alex. He regretted missing the chance to ride the wave and even said,
"Ugh, my post should be going viral. I should be gaining thousands of followers. Don't steal my spotlight with screenshots."
Mr. Norton, although aware of his son's lack of wisdom, hadn't realized it was this bad. He had to scold Alex repeatedly.
Do you even understand what you're saying? This is pathetic. What's more important, our future or going viral? Delete it now.
Alex replied with a serious face.
Huh? If I go viral and gain thousands of followers, I can brag to my friends.
Like father, like son. Even now, Alex displays his lack of common sense. He gleefully posted evidence of his crimes on social media and is happy about the backlash, which is terrifying. Mr. Norton slumped, holding his head. Then he looked up at me.
No way. Alex was harassing your wife's cafe, demanding $30,000? Please tell me it's not true.
It's true. This is a serious crime. A normal job is out of the question now. But Mr. Norton still had some fight left in him. He pulled himself together and asked,
Wait, how do you know all of this? What's going on?
"Do you really want to know?"
Please tell me.
I smiled. The president of Miller Motors is my wife's father. In other words, my Phil. Everyone in the room was stunned. Mr. Norton couldn't hide his shock.
No way.
I continued with a smile. Yes, it's hard to believe, isn't it? But it's true. My wife is the president's daughter. She's fulfilling her childhood dream of running a cafe now. Everyone stared at me as if saying something unbelievable. Yes, Sally is the daughter of the president of Miller Motors. Sally grew up as the only daughter in a wealthy family, but she preferred simple things over luxury. She attended public schools and went on to a state university. She had no interest in her family's automotive business and certainly had no intention of taking it over. Her parents never pressured her and encouraged her to follow her own path. She graduated from the horticulture department of the agriculture faculty and got a job at a seed company. Later, she and I met and started dating, but Sally said it was just a coincidence that her boyfriend worked for a rival company. So, my Phil has already dealt with the salesman who contacted you. He also informed the higher Upis at Johnson Motors. In other words, Mr. Norton's scheme was completely exposed. He finally collapsed to his knees. With his head hanging low, he muttered,
Is it really over? But how can this be? The president's son-in-law is just a regular employee.
I chuckled. Well, isn't it more plausible than a top dealer at Johnson Motors extorting money and trying to take clients to a rival company as their official dealer? The room erupted in laughter at my words. Mr. Norton's face twisted in anger. Then he suddenly remembered something and shouted,
Oh, so when they said you were well known in the industry and had connections with the higher Upis, was it because?
I scratched my head, feeling a bit embarrassed. Technically, it's my wife. I'm just a salesman. I like sweating it out, visiting stores, and seeing the customers' happy faces. I'm not interested in sitting in an office giving orders. Applause broke out suddenly. Well said. And Johnson Motors rocks, echoed around the room. I smiled again. The dealers in the Philadelphia area were generally warm and dedicated to their work. That's why I always wanted to support them as a salesman. At this point, Alex, who had been in shock, looked up.
So, does this mean Miller Motors won't hire me?
I nodded firmly. Yes. The photos were given to me by my Phil, the president of Miller Motors. He also investigated your social media. So, there's no way you're getting hired. Mr. Norton threw his hands up and shouted,
Oh no. My dream of getting a job at a car company. I entrusted my dream to my son because I couldn't achieve it myself.
He collapsed on the floor and started sobbing. The people around were stunned, watching the downfall of a top dealer. It was surprising to learn why Mr. Norton and his son were so fixated on getting a job in the automotive industry. Apparently, when he was younger, he had dreamed of working in the auto industry. But his job search ended in failure. After experiencing various sales roles, he became a dealer for Johnson Motors, having his son achieve his dream job. That was also Mr. Norton's dream. Now, Mr. Norton and Alex, the traitors who had disgraced themselves in front of everyone, fled the gathering in shame. I couldn't help but laugh as I watched them leave, thinking they would be tougher. Afterward, I was offered a clean seat, and I led a toast with everyone. Everyone, let's continue to work well together. The sound of cheers filled the room. First, Mr. Norton was fired from the North Philadelphia branch. The owner and employees of the North Philadelphia branch were furious. After all, it was because of him that the branch was being shut down. He would likely face a lawsuit for damages. Mr. Norton and his son might also face scrutiny over their shady dealings with Miller Motors. If Mr. Norton had taken customer information, it could even turn into a criminal case. Alex, too, would face a grim future. Due to the social media scandal, he was expelled from his university. He continued to be rejected by companies in his job search. It's no wonder. No company would want to hire such a dangerous person. Additionally, there was still the issue of his attempted extortion of $30,000 from Sally. He claimed it was just a joke, but whether that would be accepted was doubtful. I intended to reveal the truth and make him realize his wrongdoing. I returned to my usual daily routine. The dealers in the Philadelphia area now knew I was the son-in-law of the president of Miller Motors, but they treated me the same as before. Sally's Cafe once again became a place where regulars felt comfortable, and business was thriving. This ordinary life is irreplaceable for us. Sally, sweating and working hard, efficiently takes orders and makes spaghetti and sandwiches every day. I wear out my shoes, going from store to store for my sales job. This is the example I want to show our daughter. I hope she understands both the challenges and joys